Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Wired Dax. Today's case took place at the very end of 1989 and is about Juanita Jones. Juanita was in her early 30s and was from Haughton in Louisiana. She had graduated from Haughton High School and went briefly into the army. She met and married someone, but it was short-lived. It must have been quite an ordeal for her, as it led her full circle back to her hometown, where she had first started in Bossier Parish. The whole experience clearly pulled her back to basics, back home to where things were familiar to her, and to what was most important, close to family, and inevitably reconnecting with her childhood friends. In particular, they were Betty Harper, Betty Robinson, Margaret Rushing, and Brenda Spikes. Now, anyone who knew her could tell you that her greatest ambition in life was to open up her very own restaurant, as she really loved to cook some wholesome, home-style cooked meals. She was committed to making her dream come true. As it turned out, she had already secured a commercial property right next door to where she lived. She had even already come up with a name for it. It was going to be called Down Home Barbecue. Evidently, she was putting her all into making this happen by working round the clock and holding down 2 jobs. Her plan was to save up enough money so that she could cover all her costs. One of the 2 places that she was working was an off-license called Circle K, which was situated at the the corner of Bodcow Station Road and Highway 80. Incidentally, it wasn't supposed to be for very much longer, as she had already handed in her notice. She worked the night shift until midnight, and though there were no security cameras, law enforcement would drop in once a night. As well as this, one of her friends, Betty Harper, she worked locally, and she would regularly drop in after her shift had ended around 10 o'clock. She'd keep Juanita company until lock-up time, and then they'd often stop off at the supermarket to do a late night food shop together. On Monday, the 13th of November 1989, at approximately 10:30 p.m, Juanita was found on the convenience store floor by a passing customer. They found her seriously injured with one shot in her head. Packs of cigarettes were strewn all over the floor behind the counter, and the cash register was empty. It was calculated that a meager $65 in cash had been stolen. Juanita was rushed to hospital for treatment, but her heart gave up 5 days later. Talking about how Juanita's life was taken from her so tragically. For what? For nothing. And when she was just at the very verge of such joy, it's really hard to do. It's a true tragedy, and it's one that really needs resolving. It's been over 30 years without any convictions. It just so happened that Betty Harper was off from work that night, and therefore she didn't stop by the convenience store. I do wonder whether the person responsible for this heinous crime would have steered clear had he seen more than one person in the store. But then again, what if it wouldn't have stopped him, and Betty's life was actually spared because she simply didn't show up that night? It is believed that the person or persons involved knew Juanita's schedule, and that either they lived in the area or they had some kind of connection, like family, friends, or work. Which brings me back to the same point from earlier. People talk. In all likelihood, there will be someone local who knows who did this, and out of respect, it is high time they come forward with information. One person in the area reportedly told police they had heard a squealing tire, a shot, or a muffled shot. Another witness told police they saw a vehicle leaving at a high rate of speed, but they weren't able to identify what kind of vehicle it was. Law enforcement got some really opposing leads that went down very different avenues. Some that led them to South Louisiana, a couple that were local, but in the end, nothing concrete that ever turned into definite evidence. It just seems implausible that someone somewhere out there doesn't know who did this. Especially as the incident happened around the same time when, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Shreveport Bossier area was apparently known to be having a lot of robberies at petrol stations, though it was also said that it didn't necessarily mean they had any correlation. They may not have been linked. It's possible it's a mere coincidence. But again, what if it was the same person, or the same people? Or what if they were connected somehow? Someone knows who did it. It was heartwarming to read that Addie Jones, this is Juanita's mother, she took over Juanita's restaurant and kept it open for decades, cooking meals and serving the community for as long as she was able, just as her daughter had dreamt of doing herself. She was reported to have said that if the police arrested somebody, she would be happy. she's also at peace and forgiven whoever it is. And she said she had to do that to keep on living. If anyone has any information or tips regarding this case, please contact the Bossier Sheriff's office. I will put